Projection naturally follows the defense mechanism we discussed previously. In many ways, once one mechanism appears, projection often comes next. It is one of the most common and one of the easiest to recognize. Projection is the tendency to attribute our own unwanted qualities, impulses, or feelings to someone else. Instead of recognizing these traits within ourselves, we unconsciously assign them to another person. In everyday life, the other is usually another individual, but it can also be a group, an organization, or even an entire category of people. The key word here is transference. In psychoanalytic theory, transference is one of the central concepts. But outside the therapist's office, projection often creates misunderstandings, unnecessary conflict, and emotional suffering. A person who projects can become genuinely convinced that someone else possesses the very qualities they themselves cannot accept. You hear it all the time. Someone passionately condemns another person, insisting, "Those people are dishonest. They're selfish. They're trying to manipulate everyone." Freud would suggest something surprisingly simple. Don't focus first on the accusation. Listen to what it might reveal about the speaker. Very often, the person is describing something they cannot acknowledge within themselves. The longer they continue, the more revealing the picture becomes. At some point, you almost feel tempted to interrupt and say, "You've already told us a great deal about yourself." But they continue speaking. Why? Because the underlying conflict is still searching for expression. The symptom is looking for a way out. Projection provides that outlet. Interestingly, projection is not entirely negative. In psychotherapy, projection often becomes one of the most valuable tools for understanding a patient. People frequently transfer feelings, expectations, or personal qualities onto the therapist. Although this can be emotionally difficult, it creates an opportunity for genuine insight. In that sense, projection becomes the beginning of a dialogue. The patient may not realize it consciously, but beneath the projection lies an indirect request for help. Rather than simply seeing projection as a defense mechanism, we can also understand it as an attempt by the unconscious to communicate. Projection and inversion often work together. Let's look at a few familiar examples. A useful rule is this: when someone constantly talks about others, they may actually be revealing something about themselves. Imagine a teenager confidently announcing, "Every girl at school is in love with me." Freud would immediately look beneath the surface. The emphasis on everyone may actually hide the opposite feeling. The unconscious message could be, "I don't believe anyone really likes me." The boast becomes a disguise for insecurity. The same principle can appear in prejudice. Freud often observed that strong emotions naturally search for an object. Suppose someone repeatedly says, "Some people from that group are liars." Notice the word "some." Freud would ask a different question. Why did this particular accusation appear? Perhaps the statement unconsciously reflects something the speaker struggles to admit about themselves. The hidden message may be, "Sometimes I lie," or "Under certain circumstances, I believe it's acceptable to be dishonest." The accusation directed outward may quietly reveal an internal conflict. Of course, this does not mean that every criticism of another person is projection. People can accurately recognize real problems in others. Projection is a psychological possibility, not a universal explanation. The important question is whether the emotional intensity of the judgment tells us something about the person making it. This brings us to an important choice. Projection can lead in two very different directions. The healthier path is dialogue. When projection is recognized and explored, it becomes possible to talk openly about the underlying conflict. That conversation is rarely simple. It often takes time. The first explanation may not be the real one. Questions need to be clarified. Emotions need to be examined. But this difficult conversation is also the path toward greater self-understanding and psychological growth. This idea helps explain why group therapy became such an important development in modern psychology. Fritz Perls, the founder of Gestalt therapy, believed that a group creates many more opportunities for projection to emerge naturally. Different people evoke different emotional reactions. As those reactions unfold, participants begin to recognize parts of themselves they had previously seen only in others. The dialogue becomes richer. Self-awareness deepens. But projection also carries a risk. If we constantly assign parts of ourselves to other people, we gradually become dependent on them. Instead of taking responsibility for our own thoughts and emotions, we begin locating them outside ourselves. Our psychological integrity starts to fragment. Little by little, we become less capable of understanding and directing our own lives. Ultimately, the goal is not to eliminate projection completely. That would be impossible. The goal is to recognize it when it happens. Because sometimes the strongest judgments we make about other people are quietly pointing us back towards something unresolved within ourselves.